Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. Once again, we are going to talk about the very same thing that we have been discussing for quite some time. Maulana Fazlur Rahman still is going to come to Islamabad and he's going to stage his sit-in or perhaps it is going to be some kind of demonstration. On one side, of course, it is said by supporters of Maulana that it might not be a sit-in. But Maulana Fazlur Rahman then also says that he will not return till that time the government hasn't fallen. This is an amazing kind of setup, amazing kind of narrative. We are going to talk about this. We will try to understand how the opposition, the rest of the opposition is coping with this invitation and what are the government's plans, whether the government is handling it properly or not. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Dr. Niaz Mirza, a regular on this show, a noted columnist, also a political economist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Barrister Safiullah Ghori, who's a legal expert. Again, a regular on this channel. You used to be a regular on this show as well, but somehow disappeared for a bit. Thank you very much, sir, for coming back.
Pleasure's all mine.
And revealing yourself, right, to us. Next to him is Naseem Siddiqui Saab, a senior journalist, a political analyst. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Dr. Niaz Mirza, I have to start with you, and I have to ask you, do you think Maulana Fazlur Rahman will be stopped at the last moment, or he is going to come unabated?
Well, he is certainly, I don't think this negotiation thing that was floated in the last few days is going anywhere. Maybe it was started too late, or maybe enough earnestness was not shown. But I think that is probably finished. Nothing is going to come out of it. So the Maulana will certainly try to come in. Now, there's a few conflicting things going on. On the one hand, there was this case in the Islamabad High Court where the court said that, it cannot preemptively stop him from coming, and he should be allowed to come in because that's his rights, but as long as the rights of others are not disturbed, and that is the responsibility of the government.
And is it something that is going to happen?
Now let's see how the government decides. Then
I'm talking about Maulana.
Maulana,
if he brings his minions, his supporters here,
yeah,
are they not going to subvert life, stop life here?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are, conflicting messages now coming from all sides. Then, there is the government, which had initially said that, we will even give a container. Now there is talk about, arresting the Maulana, blocking the GT road, blocking the motorway.
A container is to contain. Right?
So, it seems ready to try to stop him.
Okay.
And then, the Maulana himself, I think he's, sort of backpedaling a bit. Maybe it's the pressure from the other political parties, but you hear less talk about a lockdown or, overthrowing the government, and more talk about Azadi March.
When I come back to you, I'm going to ask you about the pressure from other political parties, but let me bring in Barrister Safi. Your take on Maulana and his march,
right,
and whether you think it is going to take place on 31st or it is not, because we have seen already some adjustment in dates. Earlier it was 27th,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden he realized, the former chairman of Kashmir Committee realized that it was the day when India occupied Kashmir.
Yes.
And then he changed the date.
And not just the former chairman of Kashmir Committee once, but for several decades.
Not several decades.
Since 2002, in one form or another. Now, what's interesting here is, and you raise a very valid point, because Maulana has not, this is not the first time Maulana has said this. Maulana had a serious outcry in 2013 when the elections were held, and Maulana completely dismissed them as being rigged. It's the same thing that we see today. In 2013, we have on record all of his statements on, he has gone up on rallies and he has gone before the television. Now, here's what the problem is. We have a system in the government and a system in the country wherein he can go to the election commission. There is a way to address his grievances. Maulana completely decides not to take any of those routes. Instead, he continues to threaten the government. Now, once again, even if he was threatening the government, I believe that it is the fundamental right of any Pakistani to go out and protest.
To threaten anybody.
Not to threaten, but to protest. But to protest and to have their voice heard.
Right.
To form, to get together and to try and demand something is something, however stupid it may be, it is a fundamental right. But I think that Maulana has overstepped that right when he formed a militia with the name of Ansarul Islam.
Right.
And this is a militia that was named after a banned terrorist organization in the past.
Okay.
Ansarul Islam was an organization that existed in the same place as where Maulana comes from,
Right.
in KPK. It was of the same sect, Barelvi Islam, that he, Deobandi Islam, that he subscribes to. And it was involved in serious terrorist activities.
Yeah,
Now
I understand that bit, but I have to ask you another issue. Since we were looking at what Islamabad High Court actually decided, the question, if you remember Faizabad Dharna, at that time also a former justice actually had taken cognizance of the matter. Why is it that on one side, when it comes to the local government administration, we don't have a plan? And when you talk about the legal side also, the honorable courts and all, judicial side, even there we see a variety of views, because at that time the former justice was actually asking them to stop the dharna at any cost.
at any cost.
It doesn't seem the case now.
Absolutely.
What
so,
has changed?
so we have obviously divergent views that are being consistently being formulated by what the judicial interpretation of the constitution and of the political situation is. Keep in mind that whenever we have a legal condition, national security takes precedence.
Right.
So the judges obviously are of the view that this is not something that comprises a threat to national security, or at least not as yet.
Okay.
But keeping in mind the fact that this decision was given before Ansarul Islam was deemed a proscribed organization by the government.
Regardless of that, look, they are going to arrive and sit at the D Chowk, right?
Yes.
That is the spot. Less than a kilometer away is the diplomatic enclave.
Absolutely.
And you are talking about the entire administrative machinery being around D Chowk. And it is not a question
I think
of
Farooq
national
Saab, this is
security.
I think this then goes on to suggest the fact that, and we have seen time and again, by the way, it appears from the government's perspective, and it appears then again from the court's perspective, that nobody really sees Maulana Fazlur Rahman as a real credible threat. There is I feel that a lot of
Why
these
not?
people, because the boy cried wolf too many times.
No,
like
but
I said,
hang
he
on.
has said this
He's a
so many
Maulana.
times in the past.
Hang on. He's a Maulana. And he has very committed supporters among his own students. It is like a religious cult.
It's not something that it is something that I've said previously on one of the shows here, that I believe that yes, the entire organization behaves like a cult. However, their support seems to be waning even within the organizations. I feel that time and again. And so one of the things that we have to keep in mind is, do we have any precedence of Maulana having ever truly stopped someone through mass street agitation?
His father
Maulana
has
himself.
used the same route, and they brought down a government, and the prime minister was hanged, and for 10 years
Taufeeq
we
Saab,
had a
I
dictatorship
feel that
in the
comparing
country.
the son to the father is a very,
No, but
very difficult
they-
thing. You cannot compare Bilawal right now to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. They both come on.
Zulfikar Ali Bhutto is not Bilal's father.
No,
by the way.
grandfather, but-
Yeah, grandfather, right. But the humble submission is, this is a different kind of politics, where you have actually inherited your schools, the seminaries from your father, his entire political body from your father, right? So naturally you are supposed to behave in the same fashion. But let me bring in Naseem Siddiqui Sahab. Maulana Fazlur Rahman doesn't pose any credible threat?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Farooq, thank you very much for inviting. At the moment, it looks like that he's a big threat to the government, but government is dealing this thing with a cool mind.
To the government or to the people in
To the people of
Islamabad?
Islamabad as well, rather people of the Pakistan as well, because they will be in the streets of whole of the Pakistan on 31st. First, they are doing their Azadi March, and they have kept their program vague. They are not telling that what they will be doing after the Azadi March. Yeah, they annulled the talks with government as well when the opposition.
Danda or Batan Badar march was not a signal at all for you?
Yeah, that's a big signal, and I doubt, this is totally my opinion, that Maulana is working on somebody's else agenda at the
No,
moment.
I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about threat and threat perception.
Yeah.
My concern is if something actually poses a credible threat, you have to have some kind of a strategy. We keep on talking about these matters. We have been agitating this issue, and these sit-ins have taken place in Islamabad for quite some time, including the incumbent government. When is Islamabad's administration going to understand how to tackle all these issues
Yeah, definitely.
and how to identify a threat?
Whole of the Pakistan, like the Punjab police, they have made a strategy and they are.
Punjab police.
Yeah, they
Islamabad is not in
but
Punjab.
that would be in the end. Before that, the people will be traveling from KPK, from Punjab. So they have planned to stop them on the way. Definitely.
Maulana doesn't have that kind of
But
substantial support in Punjab.
Not substantial,
Sindh-
but there is some support.
Sindh
So
and
people
Khyber Pakhtunkhwa
will be
and
coming from all
Balochistan.
over the. Their supporters will be coming from all over the Pakistan. So there is a strategy to stop them beforehand, and then when they will try to enter into Islamabad, they will be stopped as well.
What
and
is
before,
that strategy?
definitely the container strategy, they are going to give too
Look,
many
here's the
containers
thing.
to them.
Remember 2014, remember 2016. Every time the containers stopped you and I, they didn't stop the protesters. They managed to reach where they wanted to.
Yeah.
These container fiascos actually just bring us down, the common people, and they add to the nuisance value of the other side.
So government has a strategy at the moment. They might ban Ansarul Islam, and they
They've
can.
already banned.
Yeah,
They have banned.
Yeah, and they might arrest few of the JUIF leaders on 26th of October beforehand. So government is trying their best because beforehand they want some negotiations with them. With the negotiation has been annulled by JUIF.
You know, including you, all my three participants today have spent significant time abroad. You have lived in the UK. How does the UK government actually tackle with movements like capture, various parts? For example, there was capture Wall Street in America. How do they actually handle these?
Actually, they allow you for the protest. They give you certain place that is a fixed place for the protest,
So
and they give
all
you certain
those pictures
time.
of water cannons being used
Yeah.
and people drenched in water, that doesn't mean anything. They were allowed to actually protest.
Yeah, definitely. The protesters, they don't go for these rules and regulations. They are protesters. They can do anything. But the government has to be a little bit lenient on the
Does
protesters.
Islamabad have any, water cannon?
I don't know at the moment they have or not, but in
Have you ever seen one?
no, not at all.
In
I've seen that
Islamabad,
one
never.
in Sindh or in Punjab. I've
Karachi
seen
we
few.
have seen
Yeah,
that.
we have seen.
Why don't we have one?
Yeah, they should have got some over here as
I
well.
think they use tear gas here.
Yeah, but tear gas has shells and they can hit
Yeah,
you
but
hard.
at the moment, the Islamabad government and the Islamabad police, they have strategy to stop them and to deal them because they don't want any nuisance in Islamabad
Okay,
city. They don't want.
unless you are asking me to have faith, like a religious faith, in this strategy, you'll have to actually tell me what exactly is it. Because without this, it becomes a dogma that they are going to take care of it. My concern is they couldn't stop. The previous governments of Punjab's administration couldn't stop not only PTI, but after that, TLP as well. Right? So these are concerns, right, sir?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an administrative question of why governments are not able to deal with it administratively. But for me, a more important question is why governments are not able to deal with these issues politically, because that's the preferred way where, you diffuse things, before they reach this situation. So even here, of course, the Maulana's dharna is wrong. There is no justification for it, no doubt about that. Just as the PTI's dharna was wrong. But even that cannot be used as a justification for the Maulana that since they did it.
Yeah.
But why did we get to this situation? And I think that's something for the government to ponder. Why was it not able to strike a working relationship with the opposition? Why is it
No,
so?
it has some kind of working relationship with the rest of opposition.
Not really.
That's why they're not coming out.
They are not coming out because they have a relationship. It's because of their own calculation
I mean,
that they don't think they can succeed at the
when you
moment.
have a
But
hostel-
otherwise, just look even today,
Dr. Saab, with
the
due
Prime
respect,
Minister
when you
went to
have
Sindh.
when you have a hostile relationship, Even that is a relationship.
No,
if you
I mean,
contain somebody.
just look at, the Prime Minister went to Karachi and there was no meeting with the Sindh government. The same is true. So, practically compared to what we had from 2008 to 2018, there was still, some working relationships where the governments were able to bring parties together. But here that is absent. And then, the one-sided political accountability, the overly harsh rhetoric. So all that has
Look,
added.
I don't understand when you're talking about People's Party.
The People's Party government and
2008 to 2013, all People's Party did all the time was blame others for
Blame
their
others, but
inaction.
there was still
And they would say that
there
there
was
is
still
a strategy
relationship.
to get
the 18th Amendment was passed by bringing all the parties together.
So that
And
was-
similarly, even under the Nawaz Sharif government, there was a better working relationship. And the rhetoric wasn't so harsh. So I think the government has to look at all that. And I think it should have started the political process much earlier by acknowledging that its own dharna was wrong, to capture some
That won't
political
happen.
or moral high ground, and by acknowledging, the methodology of the Maulana and the opposition parties is wrong if they try to overthrow this government through a dharna. But some of the issues that there is about, lack of delivery, then the issues about the elections, those are all very valid.
They're not even talking about lack of delivery.
Yeah.
They are
not.
talking about
They are
that.
no, no.
Those are the two main justifications.
No. They are still using the religious argument.
Well, not the
One-
PMLN or
one-
PPP.
no, I'm
the
talking
main
about-
opposition. The main message is, first of all, the lack of delivery and that this
No,
government
Maulana
is
Fazl,
destroying-
it might be your message.
He may be using it to mobilize his own cadres.
Maulana Fazl Rahman
but
is
at the
talking about two
national level,
cases, Asia Bibi and one Ahmadi gentleman.
show me one major newspaper where he's
Every
presented
day.
those. I haven't seen them anywhere in Dawn. The main thing is,
So
the
is he against the
elections-
government or he's
the
against an
elections
institution?
and
He still accuses the government of being entire religion.
that is just to mobilize his people.
Cadres?
But the main charge sheet against the government by the whole political
I haven't.
parties is the elections. And
Even
then-
when he doesn't appear on television, I have listened to his streaming messages
So what
on
was
YouTube
the
and
message?
elsewhere.
What was the message that came out from the last opposition
no,
or
no.
multi-party?
No.
Was it about religious issues or was it
His
about
state,
elections?
they kept on asking him to actually wait for them to join him.
But what were the main
Maulana's-
issues?
Maulana's issue
Were
is
they talking about religious issues?
Safi.
Not at all.
I'll weigh in on what I have read. And so the Maulana was very clear on what the issue was before Imran Khan went to the United Nations General Assembly. And that was Namoos-e-Risalat. He wanted to take this rally out. This was all about the respect of the Prophet. There was no talk of the inflation. There was no talk of economy. There was no talk of anything else.
Rigging as well.
When Imran Khan went there, this changed into the elections. And he decided that what
No,
he had the
election-
real problem was,
Look-
and let me continue. And elections,
No,
and
but
of course,
allow me to add to what
Please,
you are saying
please do.
because I want some clarity. My humble submission is his electoral issue was there when the opposition tried to form a grand alliance immediately after
Absolutely.
election.
Yes.
But then he went quiet and the rest of the people kept on doing whatever they are doing.
Absolutely.
Now, of late, whenever he has talked about these issues, he has mostly talked about religious issues.
Absolutely.
Even today.
Continuously,
And
he continuously,
they're
all
very
he talks about
specific.
is the connection of perhaps the Prime Minister with foreign countries like Israel and the US, about Indian influence. Continuously. If you listen to his speeches, I do not hear a single word about the economy, about the health, about the state of education. Continuously, it is all about how we need to protect Islam, how Islam is under threat. But here's what the bigger problem is. The bigger problem, Farooq, is that this is his second most successful elections. Before this, in 2002, he scored 30 seats. This is the second time that he's scored the highest number of seats, which is 15. Right now, he's sitting 15,
He had
15
more
seats in
the
provincial.
last parliament.
He lost a lot. No, I don't think
In
so.
2008, he
Yeah.
got
Yeah,
more.
he lost.
I'm of the
I mean,
impression
he is a man. When he sits in the opposition, and he was the opposition leader, even at that time, people thought that he was the actual de facto ruler because they had struck a deal with General
He's lost his
Pervez
own
Musharraf.
seat this time.
Yeah, this
He
time he
never
is out
lost
of
a
parliament.
seat, before.
The federal parliament doesn't have one seat, I guess, or
One
but
seat,
few
yeah,
seats,
absolutely. And so he was always on the commission, on the
He
Kashmir
had 13
committee,
last time.
as
No,
you've
but
mentioned.
amazingly, he sits with the various Balochistan parties, and they together say that the election was stolen. Amazingly, the two parties wherever one of them lost, the other one won.
Absolutely.
So they are actually accusing each
Each other
of stealing the votes.
Yes, absolutely. And so this is what the comedy is. This is why this is also funny, because they believe that elections were right wherever they won, and they were stolen and they were wrong wherever they lost.
Safi, because you believe in this administration, the current one, you might actually.
I don't agree with this. I do not believe in this administration, but I do strongly disagree with what the Maulana is doing. And
But in the past, I thought that you were sympathetic to the current government.
At times I am.
Just tell me this argument that somehow the government let this issue snowball into something bigger.
Not at all. Even today, for instance, I think today is the ideal example of what has been happening. So today, the Maulana was supposed to present his list of demands to the government. It's a very simple thing. He was supposed to present to the government whatever he wants. Did he do it? No. He backed off. The government had invited him to present his list of demands, asked him to tell them what he wants. Like you said a little while ago, we still don't know what he wants. It's still up in the clouds. We don't have any idea. And Maulana's politics is constantly changing. He's constantly looking for new opportunities. It could be evolving into something else. The reason why he's not giving his list of demands is because if the government gets it, they'll show it to the people. They'll tell the people this is what it is. If it's Islamic, he will end up to a degree isolating all the liberal parties from Balochistan and perhaps elements from People's Party who have
No, but
supported
they
him.
will not be alienated.
If
This
it's
is how
Islamic, and if
politics
it's
is played.
well, so I suppose he's not been smart enough to try and gather the religious and the more liberal aspects of the government into one demand sheet.
What are their USPs? If People's Party comes, how many people can it gather? Can it muster more people than Maulana's committed workers?
I believe
I don't
that
think so.
I believe that Maulana's committed workers were the ones that we just saw recently in the form of Ansarul Islam.
Yeah.
Ansarul Islam is now banned. Ansarul Islam is not coming out.
They'll
The government
change
has
the
already
dress and
imposed
come-
Section 144.
Definitely.
So if it's no, they,
No, but
they,
this is what I'm
that's-
saying. Maulana might not find that kind of solace. He might actually work with PMLN if he could, because Punjab's support is it matters. There are two issues here. One, Punjab's supporter, especially PMLN's supporter, is not the agitating kind. Secondly, the leader who's out of the prison, Shahbaz Sharif, is out to sabotage the entire project because he would like to sabotage his own brother. So in that situation, Maulana wouldn't actually bother gathering that kind of support and will come nevertheless.
I believe that Maulana has no choice but to come forward now that he's declared this. If he does not actually come through, he will once again be committing political suicide. From my perspective,
No, but your media, your private media will be telling you that he is a genius. Look how he has milked the opportunity.
how has he made?
He'll
What
get
has he gotten
something
out
out
of
of
it?
it.
I'm not sure if he will get anything out of
Will
it.
that happen?
I'll just make it correct that Ghafoor Hadi was supposed to meet the senators and the Speaker of National Assembly today from government side, but People's Party has shown their reservations that without taking them on board, how have you managed to talk with the government? So that's why they haven't given their list of demands. They might give it tomorrow or day
Do you
after
have any
tomorrow.
idea what demands are?
They have recently written a letter to the editors, to the senior journalists, and to the Human Rights Commission that Pembra has banned showing them on the TV because they are demanding that it was rigging in 2018 elections. So this is just one point has come up. But as my colleagues were saying it before, that after elections, they haven't gone into the election commission, they haven't gone into any court
but,
for the rigging of the election. So they are
Siddiqui
using.
Sahab, here's another issue. There were other meetings as well, right? For example, they had a meeting with SAFMA. They had other meetings as well. During those meetings, Maulana was accorded this position of a constitutionalist, right? And they kept on talking to him as if the man is a liberal force, right? I understand the wishful thinking in that. But when he was there, nobody seems to have confronted him on these religious issues, particularly Asia Bibi, or for that matter, Ahmadis. So what do we make of our journalism now? That we can't even ask the right questions.
Yeah, this is a very good question that we should ask him about all these things. And as I said earlier, that what Maulana wants at the moment, other than a house and ministers enclave, there is some agenda, hidden agenda behind it. Because at the moment you can see that Pakistan Fauj, we are having war on LOC at the moment. Pakistan is going through a very difficult times, and the Kashmir matter, the crisis in Kashmir has been highlighted by Prime Minister Imran Khan, and whole of the world have seen that how bravely, how boldly he spoke at UNGA. And when the princes and Prince, they have came to Pakistan, their visit has been highlighted all over the world. People have seen that Pakistan is a peaceful country, that prince and princess are roaming around with the public, and in the end we are going to show on TV that there are mostly bearded people on the roads with batons in their hands.
You're talking about Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
Yeah, definitely. So it has given a very good impression. After 9/11, Pakistan was so isolated. People were not traveling to Pakistan. There was no business coming up. But for the last, in the last government's regime as well, and in this government.
Are you telling me that the liberal media, so to speak, you and I have been part of that as well in the past, right? The liberal media seems to have some kind of cognitive dissonance now, that they cannot connect the dots, that the people you are trying to highlight as the champions of liberalism or moderation, they are the very extremists you want to actually confront.
But we have to see that what foreign media and the foreign countries, they take out of it. They just take the negatives of Pakistan. If there are some positive.
Foreign media? Which foreign media? I mean, international media has been very kind of late.
Sometimes, but most
They
of the
have
time
highlighted many aspects, very good aspects.
Few aspects, but most of the time the negativities of
Then
Pakistan
you are
has
reading
been
too
shown.
much of Indian papers. And then you are not reading international media. Otherwise, you would have
No,
seen.
as Islamophobia was discussed, that whenever there is some terrorism, it's called terrorism from Islam or Islamophobia. But they never tell that there was some
But we were
suicide
talking-
attacks in Sri
hang on.
Lanka,
No,
and
no,
it was
hang on.
done by the Hindus.
No, that is, of course, the UNGA, talking points. My concern right now is, I cannot speak for the entire Muslim world. I'm talking about Pakistan, right? I think the international media has been very fair of late.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yes, I agree with you.
Last
that
few months,
this
yeah.
time,
Last few months.
for the few months, that definitely they're highlighting.
When you
So-
actually started explaining to them
Yeah.
what we are doing or what we have been
So they have given a very good response. So I was just talking that Maulana's dharna or sit-in, if they are coming for a peaceful protest, that's their right. They can do it. But the way we have seen these videos on WhatsApp, that they are preparing for something else. So that is not admissible.
What is that?
Well, that was the batons were getting ready, and there is there is a force. They are coming with the people, those who can change, can create a fuss in Islamabad
but
by
are
sit-ups.
not weapons of mass destruction. With due respect, you have to realize danda is danda.
Yeah.
But sir, why are the opposition leaders reluctant? If Maulana's cause is so fair, at least opposition understands there's a genuine need for it. Why is it that the other opposition parties don't want to stand with it?
They don't agree with the methodology, which is to, lock down Islamabad and, try to topple the government through force.
Okay.
That's one thing. And then, just to be a bit cynical, I think they are also aware that the chances of success are very, very low at the moment, given
How?
that, everybody is on the same page, what same page I'm talking about.
Okay.
So they realize that, the chances of success at this moment are very, very low.
Every time Dr. Saab comes here,
Well, that's
he,
the reality
he
of
implies
Pakistan.
something.
That's the reality of Pakistan. Nobody
Okay.
can deny
Okay.
that. So that's another issue. What they are recommending to him is to, see this as a start of a much longer struggle where, you do a 1 or 2 day thing, then, you disperse, then you do, processions and rallies all over the country, develop, some sort of a momentum.
And
after
the
a few,
fact, the fact that they haven't actually committed to Maulana's coming to Islamabad, does that mean that Maulana has not taken that advice seriously?
well, yeah, and I think he hasn't even shared his plans with the other party. What is his end goal? So right now, you see backpedaling.
But PMLN is, you have to look at the two parties and the way PMLN is conducting its business. Shehbaz Sharif goes to meet his brother.
He doesn't.
A letter, no, initially he did. Or their team actually then go, he sends a letter to Maulana Fazlur Rahman from behind the bars, me and Nawaz Sharif.
Which he never delivered.
No,
Shehbaz
then actually doubting that his own party will actually carry that message forward,
Yeah, that's quite
he finds another man, outsider, through which, another emissary, through which he sends the message to
His son-in-law, yeah.
Maulana.
So, there is all this tension between the two brothers. Obviously, Shehbaz Sharif is not interested at all,
So it is it not about the schizophrenia which might be at the heart of most these major political opposition parties that is undermining their stance?
Yeah, I mean, they are torn in two directions. And in Muslim League, it's because of the two personalities. Whereas in PPP, it's within the same party. Sometimes Zardari thinks that, he should be aggressive. At other times, he thinks, there's no division between brothers or even father and son there.
Right.
But it's just the struggle between the one person. What is the right strategy for me?
Okay.
And I think they still are hoping for, some kind of a deal or a deal. And they don't want to go for, jugular vein at this stage. So,
there's, somebody from People's Party was saying something very interesting. He said Asif Ali Zardari's wisdom is like truck ki batti. It keeps on twisting and turning all the
So
time.
again, yeah, I think the upshot of all this is that you're just not sure what's going to happen. Even the Maulana has started backpedaling. He's talking more about Azadi March rather than a lockdown at the moment. And the latest statement that came out from him in this joint statement that he did with with Shehbaz Sharif was that we will decide our future course on October 31st, and it will not be just me. It will be all the political parties that will decide
The Rebel
together.
Committee.
And you can imagine, none of the other parties are interested in a prolonged lockdown or even a sit down.
they even
so
can't
it's
afford
quite
it.
possible that there might be some sort of threats hurled, and then okay, this is the start, and then they may move on.
No, that is true, but the problem is that like Faizabad Dhanna, once the party is there, then you cannot actually dislodge them that effectively. It might be a risk to bring them in, and it might not be a big risk at this moment, but it can prove to be very dangerous, right?
And that danger only comes from the Maulana. I mean, I don't think PMLN would
People's
want
Party,
to do.
yeah.
People's Party may not even show up.
Yeah.
They may
It
show.
won't.
They may send one or two people on the stage.
In the parties, yeah. in
Yeah,
the
but not
functions.
in terms of
But
bringing processions of people and
if
so on.
if you really believe, going back to your comment about the same page dynamic, if the current government is so powerful, the previous governments have actually, when there were sit-ins, they came up with certain plans that they are going to have pickets, they are going to actually have some kind of, at least for a red zone, they are going to have some kind of a periphery. Why is it that the current government is not trying to assert, like creating that kind of barriers to make sure?
There is a lot of talk about bringing in containers. There was also
containers actually
even,
blocks the road.
invoking Article 245 for the sensitive buildings. I think that might happen in the coming days. And
It happened in 2014 as well.
Yeah.
And it didn't actually stop anybody from doing anything.
but it did stop them from going inside, but not in the lawns, etc. Of course.
The biggest problem, Barrister Safi, is that when you are talking about all these matters, we end up talking about laws and how to fix the laws. The laws might be very important, don't get me wrong, but they cannot act as barriers on streets. So where exactly does the law end and administration and governance begin?
That's a very interesting question. But before I answer this question, I'd just like to talk about the fact that you hit the nail on the head when you said that Maulana Fazlur Rahman has now become the face of the supposed liberal parties in Pakistan. And it's shocking that they have stooped down to the level so
I'm
much
not
so.
going to-
I'm just
Look,
saying.
I
this
don't
is
want
just-
to add
of
value
course,
here.
I am just.
Stoop down or rise.
All right, fair enough.
But they
feel-
have actually compromised on their
they
own
have
principles.
they have compromised entirely on everything that they have been saying for the last maybe 50 years since the creation of Pakistan.
Imtiaz
Every
Alam.
aspect that has been held sacred.
Our good friend Imtiaz Alam Saab, who is a Jala, an old known Jala.
Yeah.
And now he's talking about Maulana like he's
Absolutely.
thoroughly Bhutto.
And the parties that you mentioned, for instance, the Balochistan parties that you mentioned, the BNP and the National Party, both of them consistently preaching secularism since the very time they were created, are now joining in the Maulana and holding him as their leader, all of them sitting under his wing, all of them sitting in the Rehbar committee. The very same parties who said that they would never sit in the same room with him have now compromised on their principles, so much so for what? For power? Because they believe that Maulana offers them a chance back into the parliament.
But here's the, since you have very effectively diverted attention to another aspect.
No,
rather
but
than
I
answering my question.
will get back to it though.
No, but regarding this, we have an example in India. If the current opposition in Pakistan, they think that PTI is the biggest problem, it might be for them, for them. But the problem is in India, exactly the same thing happened.
Absolutely.
When to get back at Congress,
They
they
went for
empowered
Modi.
BJP, and now BJP is eating up everybody.
Everyone is in a huge
So
problem.
Maulana, if he
So-
becomes an effective force, will be a death knell for all the opposition parties.
Absolutely, you are absolutely correct. And so the first people who he will in fact finish are the ones who stand for any semblance of religious equality, any semblance of equal treatment. And
I believe that he believes in the Constitution. So Constitution at least talks about
so
equality.
if we were to believe, for instance, in the Constitution, he would not be having a private militia. That is completely forbidden
No,
by
but
Article
his
265
father-
of the Constitution.
His father played a crucial role in the framing of the Constitution, right? So
I-
he has that kind of
I
ownership.
I don't know, Patafi Saab, I don't agree with you here. I believe that his father was a man of a tremendous name and tremendous respect. His father is a man who was
So is
well
he?
recognized.
So is he?
I suppose that there are nicknames
Tomorrow,
for him
when
that
you're
do
going to
not
write
exist for his
history-
father.
No, but
maybe.
tomorrow when you're going to
I
write
suppose history
you're
will
going
have
to
to
treat him that way.
I think history will be the judge of that. We can't.
And Mufti Mahmood was an equally big problem during his own time.
Perhaps he was. But regarding the question that you asked me a little while ago of
I
sorry.
will come to that. Let him add.
Yeah, I mean, this point that you're raising that, if they make him the face, he may, increase his, political weight and become like the major party. I don't think that will happen. Like you yourself gave the example that it was Maulana Mufti Mahmood who overthrew Bhutto. The religious parties were more active, but did they gain
So
politically?
that was
It
that was the
Muslim League.
bipolar time.
Yeah.
Now you are talking about a world order where everywhere hard right is rising.
Fundamentalism is
So
on the
once
rise.
you actually bring
not
in
the
the
type,
Arabs camel,
not the type, because the issue is,
once the camel is
the
inside,
sectarian
then you're
difference
out.
here, that sectarian difference here in Pakistan, he can never become popular in, Barelvis and Shias and so on. So he
MMA.
will stay confined
MMA?
To, the same areas.
I feel like
MMA
I
is
feel
also
the example of
doubt it.
India was very relevant because Hinduism is also divided into many sects, subsects, more than Islam is. There
Caste
are yes,
especially, yeah.
caste and so many problems with Hinduism, and yet Modi
No, not
somehow
with Hinduism, with the political.
with the political aspects of Hinduism, or even for instance, for the sectarianism within Hinduism is rife, but Modi nevertheless managed to join all the hardliner Hindus under one umbrella.
No, he doesn't. Actually, the 5% are the Brahmins,
Yeah.
and then 14-15% other privileged castes. They together have captured the state. It is an elite capture. It is not popular vote.
And so if
Others
Maulana
are
Fazlur
afraid.
Rahman has the support of some
That's
of
what
the
I'm
liberal
talking
elites within the country, he would be able to do the same. He does not require. Pakistan has never been a truly democratic country. There has always been this whole idea
I
of.
don't agree with that at all.
Regardless, my perspective.
God, I cannot begin to tell you how much I
But as
disagree.
you are comparing
Every
Fazlur-
every 10 years, 15 years, we had a coup, I agree.
Yeah.
But there was something intrinsic in our society that brought
I
you
agree
back to
that
democracy.
Pakistanis
So we
are
are
of a
democratic.
democratic inclination, but but my statement was that Pakistan has never been an overall democratic
I
country.
mean, then nobody
as-
is.
But as you were comparing Maulana Sahib with the Modi's government, they cannot come into the power. Maulana cannot,
How do you know that?
yeah, because he don't.
Do you know in 83?
As you said that they
no,
don't
early
have-
80s, do you know how many seats did BJP get?
Yeah.
2 seats.
But it was a big
Then it-
party. It was a big party. Then it
No,
was
the-
coming up.
the
They were
dynamic.
having their.
I mean, they say that if a horse is going to befriend the grass that it is going to eat, What exactly
Yeah,
is
but
it going
as
to eat?
you said before that
The
Maulana don't have their
liberals-
party in Punjab, yeah? If somebody don't have any constituencies or they have seats in Punjab, they cannot make their government
That can't
in the
change in
federal.
Pakistan.
Sorry?
That cannot change in Pakistan.
No, I don't think so. The
This
Pakistan
country
cannot,
has seen one
cannot
unit.
stoop that much.
This country has seen, Sarji, remember, this country has seen one unit.
Yeah.
This country has seen, what else? Basic democracies. It has seen out and out dictatorship.
But
it
we have
has
seen that Jamaat-e
Zia-ul
Islami
Haq's
has been
dictatorship
very
as well.
vibrant in Pakistan. They have got too many their workers all over the Pakistan, but they never won the elections.
Yeah.
Like same like JUI, they cannot make government. And as you were comparing Mufti Mahmood with Fazlur Rahman, Mufti Mahmood definitely he has some services for the Pakistan in the past, but Maulana
know.
Sahab don't
How
have.
do you
like
say
as
that?
you said that he was the part in making of the.
So Maulana Fazlur Rahman contributed to 18th
no,
Amendment?
he didn't.
He
has
when he
no-
was the head of International Affairs Committee, he went to European
What
Union.
he did when he was
and
the head of the Kashmir Committee.
No, when he was International Affairs Committee's head, he went to Europe, and actually in European Parliament he delivered a speech in Arabic. I mean, that was
Yeah,
a
but
contribution of service
But
to the
I
nation.
cannot, I cannot compare him with Maulana Mufti Mahmood, as you cannot compare Bilawal with
You got
Benazir.
serious, you didn't get the
You cannot
humor.
compare Bilawal with Benazir Bhutto. The services Benazir provided for Pakistan. Same like I don't agree that
But
Maulana has
remember,
got same credentials
had
as his
we
father
been-
was having.
Had we been there when Benazir Bhutto was ruling the country, or she was the opposition leader, we would have been saying the same thing, comparing her with her father and saying that there is nothing comparable between the two. This is not according to the zeitgeist of the moment. I don't want to compare fathers and sons. I think sons can outshine their fathers.
Yeah,
as well.
sometimes, but at the
right
moment-
now,
yeah.
you have to, and we all have to worry about two things. One, the moderates that seems to compromise on their principles. I'm told that we are run short of time. And second thing, we have to worry about the physical threat that
Just
might
one
emerge.
liner. Do you know that Prime Minister Imran Khan voted for Maulana Fazlur Rahman in 2002 for the premiership?
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
things,
things
happen.
can change, yeah, things-
No,
things
but
happen.
people change opinions, right? On this note, though, we have to conclude the program. Naseem Siddiqui Sahab, thank you very much for your time. Barrister Safiullah Ghori Sahab, thank you very much for your time as well. Dr. Niaz Mirza, always a great pleasure having you in the show. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. Discussion has to continue till 31st of October in any case. But it is important to remember, no matter how powerful you are, it actually profits you if you don't underestimate the other side. And if especially you don't underestimate the possibility of dark swan, black swan affairs as well. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.